So, the title for this video could have been nearly anything with a word that insinuates a flop, like Expendables tumbles, or proof this film was expendable. Anything like that would have worked, but I think the real question here is why? Well, we're going to dive into that and see if we can figure it out. Here we go. So, falling right in with expectations, The Expendables 4 was headlined by an incredible cast. You had Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, and a whole host of other amazing action stars. And somebody that's not, I guess, Megan Fox. And yet, with all that star power, it really stumbled into its box office debut. It landed a franchise low $8.3 million over the weekend, and this lackluster performance pushed it actually to second place. In fact, The Nun 2 actually edged it out with $8.4 million, at least according to the early numbers for the weekend. Worse news than that is that this weekend box office saw the weakest numbers of the year, with not a single movie crossing the $10 million mark, obviously. Despite this disheartening weekend, however, there may be a glimmer of hope for the future of the theatrical experience. Studios seem to be inching closer to resolving the writer's strike, which we are going to cover in a separate video today. There's also optimism that a similar deal with the actors' union may follow suit. The truly ignorant out there have tried to say that this would allow stars to actively promote their upcoming projects, potentially reviving box office returns. But truly, there's only evidence to the contrary for that, at least over the last several months anyway. You have other films like Dumb Money and A Haunting in Venice out there that likely would not have made much more money at the box office, even if the stars had been around to parade their epic ignorance for everybody in promotion of the film. I mean, heck, even Silence, there is still enough out there to make films fall flat for actors because of their previous statements. Exhibit number 1 is going to be Rachel Ziegler, but let's just put that reason aside. Expendables 4 was a huge misfire in the franchise. And I know I'm playing fast and loose with the word franchise, but it is at 4 films now, so I guess, we have to call it that. Anticipation was high for some, I guess, or at least for Lionsgate and Millennium. I mean, they wanted this film to do good. This installment, the 4th one, as I keep saying, was expected to rake in about $15 million from the 3,400 theaters that it was in, at least this weekend here in the States. But really? Is that what they were thinking? Because you could have fooled me, especially since there was very little promotion for this film, and it was basically a film that was, based or centered around Statham and Fox. I mean, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith featuring the Expendables. The film turned out to be anything but expendable, failing to generate enthusiasm or word of mouth, or anything that was somewhat positive. The franchise was once a box office powerhouse, to be sure, at least in, the B-movie genre, the old-fashioned 80s action style. But that's seen a steady decline, at least with this team of people, and this particular film has fallen well below its predecessors. Some of the critics have said some pretty bright things, like critic David A. Gross remarked specifically that the last 2 Expendables films have dropped sharply from the previous episodes, and that the weekend figure is below average for the genre. The reviews are poor, and the audience ratings are dull. Yikes. But again, spot on. So this time the formula was a costly gamble, for lack of a better way to put it. And while Expendables 4 might have struggled domestically, these films have typically found some kind of success in the international markets, similar to like what Fast and the Furious has done. However, with a $100 million production cost and some very lackluster domestic earnings, I don't know that this film will actually ever make a profit, even with strong ancillary income. I mean, maybe in the secondary market, would they sell it to like a streaming channel or something? Maybe. I mean, I think it's time to find some new action heroes out there. Something that the world can sink their teeth into. Because these folks, besides just showing their age, are really showing their lack of relevance at the box office in this one. I mean, maybe they would do better in something that wasn't an action film. But I don't know. They're just getting old. Of course, maybe they're just showing you that if you don't put big promotion behind a film, you're going to get a small audience regardless. And I suspect the reason nobody showed was the steep decline in the film overall due to its reliance on a formula that the audience is actually pretty bored with at this point. But again, I could be wrong, but at least that's 3 or 4 reasons why this thing fell flat. But what's not wrong here is the bottom line. It didn't do good, and the next one won't either. But hey, what do you think? Do you think that the key to a successful box office debut in today's cinema landscape is what they did with this film? Share your thoughts and comments down below, and hopefully we can have a conversation about it. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene, and until next time, see ya!